Okay, we're on lesson 2 right now in week 2 of the semester. Where you should be right now is you should have finished up the first lesson, and that means getting through scenes 1 and 2 and writing your summaries, and then breaking down 3 metaphors. That's where you should be right now. You should be getting through scenes 3 and 4, and then by the end of the week you'll be posting your summaries and your metaphors. Let me go a little bit over the discussion so far and how folks are doing. And I want to go over, if you're in, I have 2 online English 101s, and one of them, if you can take a look at what Ryan did. I'm going to thank Ryan for volunteering his, even though he doesn't know it. Thanks, Ryan, for letting us use yours. Or if you're in the other class, Madison. Madison did a great job, and once again, I want to thank Madison for volunteering without knowing it. Her discussion, you can take a look at either one. Let me get rid of myself here. And so then you can see what they've written. So you look at what Madison's gotten here, what she's done, and that's a good, thorough summary. That's what she's done. Okay, and same thing with Ryan. Ryan did it too, and he broke it down scene 1, scene 2, and as a good, thorough summary. Remember what the summary is. What you're doing is putting together, and it's going to be semester long. What you want to have by the end of the semester is 20 pages of summaries and some kind of response to what we're doing. That's what Ryan and Madison are gonna come up with. A lot of folks have really compressed summaries that somebody talked to somebody about this and that's all they had. By the end of the semester, you're not going to be anywhere near the 20 pages. So I want you to be aware of that. If you did that already and you need to develop it a little bit more, go ahead and go back in there, edit it. You can open it up and edit it. At the bottom of the page, it should allow you to do that. Just add a little bit more to it and you should be in good shape. Ryan and Madison, you guys did fine, and some other folks did too, so just be aware of that. And also I want to be clear about something. I'm not going to grade individual discussions. What I do is I look at the end result by the end of the semester. How did you do overall throughout the semester? So I don't go in and ding, some that are a little bit weak and throw points at others that are a little bit better. I want to see how you did overall throughout the semester. And if you want a good model of it, you got Ryan in one of the classes or Madison in the other. Okay? So that's good work by both of you. And that's what you should be looking for. And again, other folks have done it. I just wanted to point 2 out that really did a good job. Now, I want to point something out here on Ryan and Madison's on the metaphors. Now, something I really want to emphasize right from the beginning. They've both done fine. They haven't really followed the process as I set it out. We're in the discussion stages. We're doing our best. We're learning how to do something. And folks have to go through it first before they know how to do it. And I really want to emphasize this. Madison and Ryan, you're watching this right now. You might be thinking, oh my gosh, I got to go back in there and edit it. Don't bother. You're perfectly fine. So this is a matter of going through the metaphor machine, going through stage by stage through the metaphor machine. What Ryan and Madison have come up with is perfectly fine, but it doesn't go through the stages of the metaphor machine that I spelled out last week. Let me go back over that and show that to everybody what we're doing. The metaphor machine is what I want everybody to learn this unit, okay? And the metaphor machine is actually a metaphor itself because there's no actual machine there. I just have called it machine to get you the idea that you're walking through a process. Machines are about processes. And watch this process. First thing you do is when you look at some fancy words there, some figurative language, ask yourself what's literally being discussed. What are they actually talking about here? Behind this facade of language, what's going on? And that's the first stage, and that's extremely important to do. Don't look at the words themselves. Look at what really is going on behind it. And that should take a couple of sentences to kind of figure it out. Okay? And then, what type of words are being used? What type of vocabulary are they using? What are they doing here? What types of words are they using and things like that? Why are they talking? I mean, think about the way they are talking about things here. And it's going to be different. What that sets up, and this is incredibly important, is it sets up a disconnect. Things are not working in the language. And that's the thing you need in order to trigger an analysis. You need a disconnect. things aren't right in these words. There's a literal level that's doing this, and then there's the figurative level that's going in an opposite direction. That sets the stage for the analysis. Then you ask yourself, why are these words important? What's really going on here at the deeper level? And that's going to be, everybody's going to come up with an analysis that's slightly different, but first go through those early stages, okay? So let me come back here to Ryan's. He does have a metaphor here, and so does Madison. On Madison's here, it's, let's see where it is, only a crazy man is in love with death. That is a metaphor. One thing I say, and a lot of people picked like that one or ones like it, this is really short. Try to give yourself about 3 to 6 lines. That's the first thing I'd tell you. Try to give yourself metaphors that are about 3 to 6 lines, and that's going to bleed right into the early draft stages, okay? But again, I want to triple emphasize, Madison and Ryan, you're good to go. Don't go back and change it, okay? You're fine. This is good stuff. Same thing as Ryan's here. Let me do Ryan's a little bit more. I can do Madison's too, but let me just do Ryan's. This is a metaphor right here. It is the dead, not the living, who make the longest demands, okay? It's a metaphor because dead people aren't going around saying, you know, pick up your clothes and, you know, clean up the backyard. They don't do that, okay? This is a metaphor. It's Antigone's using this, okay? So we got a metaphor. First thing we have to do is ask ourselves what is literally going on here. Literally, dead people aren't going around making demands. And the dead person would be Polynices. What Antigone is actually talking about is how she feels about the situation with her brother and that she needs to do something. She feels she needs to do something for her brother, okay? And do something right for him, and that's what she feels, okay? That's what literally is going on. Polynices isn't doing anything, okay? He's out in the field getting, you know, fighting with the crows or the buzzards or whatever. And so that's literally what's going on. He's not doing anything. So she is really talking about her emotional state, that she needs to do something for her brother. Okay? What kind of words are being used? She is using the language as if Polynices is still alive and making demands of her. And Polynices is in the position of authority to make demands on her. Okay? Those are the ones who are really in charge. That's what she's doing. She's using the language of describing the dead as being the ones in authority and the ones who can demand that you do certain things. And notice I've created a conflict here. She's talking about her feelings for her brother and the situation, but she's using the language to describe an authority figure who's gone. And Polynices wasn't an authority figure before. He is now. So the dead get put into positions of authority in this language. The dead, not the living, who make the longest demands. And these demands last, okay? They're not temporary. They go on. So that's very important. I've created a conflict between what's literally happening and the words that Antigone is using. Now, why are those important? Those are important because the person who has authority for Antigone is her brother, and that's the one she's going to obey. And this brings her in direct conflict to the other person who's placing demands on her, who is Creon. He's not dead, okay? So she has no authority in her heart, and that's what she's responding to. That's my analysis. Now, I want to make something clear. What Ryan's done here is kind of jump right to the analysis, and his analysis is perfectly fine, okay? But what I want you to do is first walk through those stages. What Ryan's really done is what most people have done, is jump to, why do you think these words are important? But what I want you to do is first describe what's literally going on, then tell me what type of words are being used, and then come up with your insight into why these words matter. So Ryan's jumped a little too fast. Okay, it's not that he's wrong. This isn't wrong at all. But slow it down a little bit. Go through a little more, go through the process a little bit more. The metaphor machine is built around slowing things down and walking you through the stages, and it will actually work for you. Okay? So that's what I want you to do, and go through it. Again, like Madison's here, same type of issue. So going through it and just break it down a little more carefully. Give yourself more to work with first, and then walk through it. What's literally going on should take a couple sentences. What kind of words are being used? and it breaks it apart. It creates a conflict for you. And then you go, okay, why is this important? I don't know if you'll significantly change your mind, but you're probably going to have more to say. You're probably going to go, oh, okay, now this has taken me further. I got launched. I've got a lot more to say. Okay? So, let me take a step back. So I hope everybody knows a little bit more about how to go about the discussion. Madison and Ryan have got it going in the right direction, and that's what I want you to do. And triple underline discussions are to practice the skills. Okay? Let's go back here. Let me go over to this conflict and really where we are, so you get some of the themes and what are going on. And let me bring my ugly mug back in here. Really what we're doing here early on is going through some of the conflicts, and these should be pretty evident. Now keep in mind that Sophocles is putting this together in a way that he thinks will be valuable to the Greeks of his time period. Okay? And one of those core things I brought up last week is that the Greeks always saw a conflict, an inherent conflict between the demands that are made on us from our family and the demands made on us from our state. And those are going to come into conflict. Something to understand is that you should not be just taking a side. In other words, you're going to misunderstand it if you see Creon's right or Antigone's right. Instead, take a look at it this way and see this conflict. I want you to understand it as inherently inevitable. And what Sophocles is doing is making it float to the surface, bringing it out. Antigone demands loyalty of Ismene, and then she's placing Haman in a position where she's challenging his loyalty also. She has reason for it. Her brother died, and he's being left out for the crows, or the vultures, or whomever is out there picking him apart. And that, that's horrendous. But the disregard for his burial has pushed her to the limit where she's demanding something be done, and so she has reason for it. She calls on her sister and on Haman, on her fiance. But Creon also is demanding loyalty, and he also has reason for it. Keep in mind what's just happened to the city. Okay? The city's been through a civil war just now, but it also went through a time period where it lost its king, Oedipus, and had this horrific tragedy of him falling from his position of power, and they watched the queen get dragged through a disgraceful situation. All of it unintentionally. Oedipus, you may or may not, I mentioned the story, unintentionally brought his city to ruin and brought his family to ruin. But understand, both of them, both Antigone and Creon, are acting selfless. Antigone is acting in the interests of her brother, reasonably. But notice her selflessness is becoming selfish. She's not thinking about the difficult position of Ismene and Haman and the difficult crisis, or the crisis she is creating for the city itself. Creon is doing essentially the same thing. He is being selfless. He's acting in the interests of the city, but notice he's absolutely just going over Antigone and her emotional state and Ismene's. And really the city all understands Antigone. They really do, but they don't really take her side. He is ignoring what's going on with her and saying that he's never going to be mourned. Well, of course he is. But he's also a traitor. So he is acting as if he's got the interests of the city. He's the city, and he's acting like that, but he's also being selfish. His selflessness is in the end becoming selfish and self-centered. They're both doing essentially the same thing. And they're bringing both their families and the city to crisis. The conflict, what I want you to understand is the conflict is inevitable. It must happen. Okay? Even if, let's say, Antigone were a little less headstrong and Creon were a little bit more diplomatic about it, the crisis, the conflict would still be there. It would still be a problem, but it wouldn't be so entertaining, shall we say, or engaging. I shouldn't say entertaining so much, but engaging. So what Sophocles is doing is bringing that conflict, which normally would have remained under the surface, and bringing it to the surface and pushing it to its limits with the characters of Antigone and Creon. That's what's happening here. Okay, so it's not a matter of picking one side or the other. It's a matter of recognizing the inevitability of this problem. Okay, so now let me get rid of my mug and get me out of here. and I'm going to walk you into the draft process, okay? And I want you to understand that there's something to understand about the nature of analysis. It breaks things down into smaller pieces. It provides insight at a deeper level. Okay, it goes beyond what everybody else sees. And it does it only after it breaks things down. And it's not a statement of a position. You're not going to tell me you think Antigone's cool and she's great and blah, blah, blah. She's the best thing, I don't know, since, Madonna's first album. I'm just kidding. Okay, sorry. Bad 80s reference. So she's not a great thing, and nor is Creon, whatever. So you're not stating a position. What instead you're doing is working towards an insight. And the statement I'm going to make over and over again is slow thinking is good thinking. That's what it is. Now let me take you back to the class so you can see what I've posted here, okay? In the assignments area, let me show you this. This is going to be warning. Let me pop back in here. A little bit of a warning here. This is going to be incredibly boring, okay? There's nothing interesting about what I'm going to do with you right now, but it's probably going to work really well. Having been teaching for a while and worked with students who struggle with writing, but also students who really don't even know that they're going to struggle with analysis. Analytical writing is different. And I'm going to ask that you go through these draft processes. You can just go ahead and write the final essay and send it in. You can do that. But I'm going to tell you, having taught this for a very long time, the draft process really helps students out. Okay, so I'm going to ask that you go through this to make your life a little bit easier. And the first thing you do with the draft process is work on finding your evidence, and then working through your evidence and working through your body paragraphs. That's what we're going to do first. So here's the final essay assignment. Let me go to that really quickly so we can go over what we're doing here. Let's throw me up on a shelf. We're writing a 6-paragraph essay, and by 6 paragraphs I don't mean 6 body paragraphs. And just doing the math here, there's going to be 4 body paragraphs plus an introduction and a conclusion. That makes 6. Even I can do that kind of math. So that's what you're looking for. You're going to have 4 body paragraphs. And then what you're going to do is isolate specific points in the play that use metaphors to give insight in the natures of loyalty or justice. So that's, and loyalty and justice, you're tripping over it. It's everywhere throughout this play. And that those things I talked about with Antigone and Creon having that, that conflict over familial loyalty and over city loyalty, it goes on and on again and again. And the issue of justice comes back to what's right, the nature of what's right, and who your obligations are to. Okay, justice almost never comes down to a simple right and wrong. It's always recognizing where the obligations are. Okay, and there's going to be problems. Okay. So, so don't expect any easy answers. You probably already knew that. So we're going to show how the words and phrases of the characters used give an idea of how they view the situation in the world. So you're going to really work precisely with those words and phrases. Instead, focus on, and don't try to cover the entire play, but instead focus on a limited number of characters and examine the relationships in detail. Now, what you're going to do, and what I want you to do, is get quotations from throughout the play, but don't try to cover everything. In other words, if you want to write on Antigone and Ismene, do that. If you want to write on Haman and Antigone, do that. If you want to write on Creon and Haman, go ahead and do that. I would generally urge you to write on 2 different people. Keep your focus that way, or in 1. Don't try to cover everything, but get selections from throughout the play. In other words, if you're going to do Creon early on, in the middle of the play, and then towards the end. Get 4 different quotations from Creon from throughout the play. Don't cover everything. You don't need to cover all the characters. Don't do all that. You can cover the chorus from the early part of the play to the later part. You could do that because the chorus changes. You could cover Ismene, things like that, or Antigone. Do whatever you want, but cover from throughout the play. Okay, that's what I want you to do. So let me go through what I just did with the assignment. Now, this I just put up there. And this is kind of a useful thing to have. And again, I want to emphasize you don't have to do this, but boy oh boy, when students do it, they're like, that was good, that helped out. I would not ask you to do this if I hadn't have seen students use it over the years, and it really works well. Okay, so this is a process sheet. It's a PDF that walks you through a process. And first thing is when you open it up, you're going to see all this. What I don't want you to do is start filling it in while it's up there. Don't do what I just did right now. Instead, start by downloading it. Download it onto your computer. Okay, and I already did this a little bit earlier. Downloaded it onto my computer. Okay, so download it onto your computer. Please do that first, and then you're going to get. Go ahead and open up mine, and let's get the right screen. Here it is right now. Now it's sitting right on my computer. Okay, there it is. And then I open that little bugger up, and bingo, I get a PDF open on my computer. Look for that, I guess that's fuchsia, that stripe right up top. Look for that, then you know you've got the PDF on your screen. Okay, excuse me, on your computer. If you do it while it's opened up in the web browser, and again, I know many of you are sitting there right now just going, I know this, why are you explaining it to me? I'm explaining it because a lot of students didn't know it, and I get a lot of students getting frustrated. They fill it out on the computer screen and then they don't know why it didn't save. It didn't save because you really have to save the PDF on your screen, on your computer first. So look for the fuchsia stripe up top, and then I walk you through. This is the early draft stage. This PDF filled out. It is time consuming and it's boring. Okay, but it really works. Okay, it really works well. Okay, so let me walk you through it. First, find 4 quotations from throughout Antigone. Okay, you already told us to do that. Thank you very much. Let me get rid of myself here. Bing. Okay, I'm gone. A quotation should include metaphors and demonstrate important elements of loyalty or justice. Each quotation should be 3 to 6 lines. Okay, each quotation should be 3 to 6 lines. I know that's really simple, and everybody's sitting there going, duh, I can get 3 to 6. It is probably the most common oversight I've seen throughout the years. That people get quotations that are too short. Don't get anything under 3, or boy, if you get 2 3/4, that's all right. But what I see is that when you get a quotation fewer than 3 lines in length, you've gotten too little to work with. It's going to be really hard to develop a body paragraph. You got more than 6, you need to trim it down. You got too much. Okay? So get those quotations, and what you do, and you can just copy and paste them right here into it. And let me show you. I'm going to do this right now while we're all sitting here. Very excited about this. And again, I'm warning you, this is boring. This is, I think this is the one that Ryan had. Yeah, this is it. I think this is it. But I'm going to take a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to take this. This is line 55-ish or so. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. So 55 through 60. I would take note of your line numbers. Okay. Take note of your line numbers when you're getting it. And I'm going to copy this bugger. Okay. And let's move him over to here and paste him in. Okay. It's 55 to, I'm going to go ahead and write it in. This is going to make life a little bit easier later on. Trust me on this. My old boss used to say, trust me, I'm a lawyer. That's kind of funny. Trust me. Okay, now there's my first quotation. And all that tells you, all that really makes you do is get yourself a long enough quotation. Quotation of 3 to 6 lines. Okay, cool, I've got it. Now let's go to the next section. And notice what this sheet does is it walks you through the metaphor machine, basically. Describe the words and phrases used by the speaker. Okay. And that's all I'm walking you through it. Okay, that's all I'm doing. Antigone is talking about how she seems to expect to die for burying her brother Polynices. She considers what she is doing to be holy. She knows what the gods and the dead want. her to do. And again, all I'm doing it right now, just describing what I'm seeing. I shall lie down. She says she will lie down with Polynices in their death. And again, I'm not going to get into why those words are important, but I'm telling you right now, I am noticing those are really creepy words. If you didn't notice, that's creepy stuff. And their death, and that he is dear, and that he will be dear to her emotionally. And that is really creepy. Weird stuff works great. Okay. The dead call on her and everyone else for the longest time. Okay, and all I've done is put it in, in straightforward language. But now I've got to put the first two steps in here. So that's what she's literally talking about. But what kind of words is she using? She's using this language. She is using language as if she knows the hearts and minds of the dead. They are in a position to make demands on her as if they are in authority, and she recognizes their superior position to command her. And again, I'm just going off of the type of words that are coming up here. So I shall lie down with him. She describes her relationship as if it were still emotionally connected. And I don't like what I'm doing here, but this is rough draft. She uses the language of some of who is married as if they were going to be in bed together. Again, this stuff's creeping me out, just writing it, but that's what it is. I shall lie down with him, and don't tell me it's not there. I shall be as dear to him as he to me. Bed together, and emotionally and physically connected. That's really creepy stuff. Okay, considering who their dad is, that's getting really creepy. So, and again, I've broken it apart. Now, why are these words important? I will come up with my own analysis. But notice all this weird, creepy stuff came out of the fact that I slowed it down and just started describing it. I could go into how both Polynices is dead and how she's trying to keep these emotional states alive, even though these physical bodies, his physical body is gone. Okay, and let me take you back to this. Breaking things down into smaller pieces allows you to give that insight. She sees emotions and bodies as being always, always operative, as if it seems that they're caught in time. Most people would see that, but she sees them existing in space as if they never pass. They never go anywhere. That would be my real insight, that bodies and emotions never pass. I would say she's missing something here, and that's what's creating the creepiness of it. So notice I'm not taking her side. I'm not saying she's right. I'm not saying she's wrong. That's not it. I'm saying the nature of it is that she sees eternal life in both emotions and in bodies, as if they're always present. And that kind of slow thinking is what you're working towards. And when you get to this third stage, you've got the quotation first, then you describe it, and again, make sure you say, what are they literally talking about, and then what type of words are being used. That's what I did here. First two stages of the metaphor machine are right there. And then I want to analyze it right here, and I could take it in any direction I want. I could say how She's keeping emotions and bodies alive and as if they are still present when one half of the scene is gone. And that's what's creating the creepy language. So I can do that. That should be easy enough, but I couldn't do it without first breaking it down. And then I'm going to go on to my second body paragraph. I'm going to get my quotation of 3 to 6 lines, 3 to 6 lines, okay? 3 to 6. And then describe it the same way. Use the metaphor machine. First 2 stages of it. What's literally being talked about, what's going on behind the words. Get behind the words what is really going on here. Okay? Describe what's going on behind the words, then talk about the words themselves. What type of words is she using or he using? If you're doing a quotation from Haman or from Ismene or something like that, what type of words are they using? And then you probably will start thinking, hey, something cool is going on here. And then you say what you think is going on here. And it's not going to be thumbs up, thumbs down. It's going to be insight into what's gone on behind these words and everything. That's when you're going to step in. And then you do it for the third body paragraph. Same thing. And then for the fourth. When you're all done with this and did it all, then make darn sure you go to File and then save that darn thing. Okay? Save it on your computer. If you don't do this, all your good work is wasted and it's going to disappear. Don't do that. Make sure you save it. Save as, put it on your computer, give it a new name, call it number 1 or first draft or whatever. Save it on your computer. You're going to see that what this does is it slows everything down for you. And let me get back in here. Here I am again. It slows everything down for you so that you can make something out of this, so that you can really get to what's going on in Antigone at a deeper level. And then we'll get to the second draft stage next week. And I'll show you how to start putting it together. Now it's going to start to look like an essay. So finish up scenes 3 and 4 by the end of the week. So scenes 3 and 4 are what you got to finish up. Do the metaphors as best you can. And again, I appreciate Madison and Ryan letting me use them without their permission. Try to get that done by here, but I really urge you to start going on the assignment sheet and get it going. You're going to find those early stages help you out a lot. Okay? All right. Keep at it, guys. Keep going, and we'll get this moving along. You're going to see you're going to have quite the essay by the end. Take care.